We're looking at a concept that perfectly bridges history, deep psychology, and intense physical symptoms. We are exploring the idea of healing both the mind and the body using the venom of one of the deadliest snakes on the planet. Get ready, because the mind-body profile of the remedy known as Lachesis is quite a ride.
Okay, to really get this, you've got to picture the scene. It's 1830. Dr. Constantine Herring, who a lot of folks consider the father of American homeopathy, is literally face to face with a highly venomous South American bushmaster snake. He actually milks this deadly creature to capture its venom. It sounds like something straight out of a crazy adventure novel, but this daring extraction led to the development of Lachesis, which is the most well understood and broadly indicated snake remedy in homeopathic history.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The Bushmaster origin story. 2. Mind, the Lachesis personality. 3. Body, left-sided physicals. 4. Throat circulation and sleep. And 5. Modalities and summary. Section 1. The Bushmaster origin story.
So just to ground this dramatic historical origin story in reality, Dr. Herring actually ended up donating his entire biological collection. And get this, that exact original 1830 venom specimen, it still exists today. It's literally sitting pickled in a jar of alcohol right now at the Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia. It's such a cool, tangible artifact, right? And it reminds us that even though we're about to jump into the highly theoretical psychology of this remedy, we are dealing with a very real, incredibly potent biological substance.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mind, the Lachesis personality.
As we unpack the core psychology here, the mentals, I want you to keep the metaphor of that bushmaster snake in the back of your mind, because the parallels are just astonishing. We're talking about a quick, highly intuitive mind that absorbs everything in a room. But it's also an intense mind, driven by a massive denial mechanism. When they fail to acknowledge their own emotional pain, like unexpressed grief or anger, they project it outward. This creates deep mistrust, paranoia, and crazy intense jealousy, especially in romantic relationships. And if they feel provoked, oh, watch out. You'll literally feel like you're walking on eggshells around them. Because just like a snake, their sarcastic wit is a sudden, pointed, and barbed strike. It is thinly veiled hostility disguised as a joke, a literal venomous strike aimed right at your biggest vulnerability.
And this brilliantly illustrates how that internal psychological pressure finds a release valve. Remember that denial mechanism we just talked about? Well, the energy backlog from all that unprocessed emotion doesn't just magically vanish. Instead, it gets rechanneled into intense mental activity. Simply put, instead of feeling their emotions, they start thinking faster and talking more, a lot more. Loquacity, which is extreme talkativeness, is a massive hallmark here, and it runs a really wide spectrum, from incredibly urgent and highly perceptive speech, all the way to a completely wandering, incoherent torrent of words that they can just barely contain. Because they deny their own anger, they project hostility outward and basically paint the world in black and white. You'll actually hear them use the word hate all the time. They hate a TV show, they hate a political party. And this outward suspicion translates into an extreme hatred of being constrained in any way. They fiercely resent authority. Physically, this translates into a total intolerance for tight clothing. I mean, they absolutely cannot stand tight collars, jewelry, or anyone putting hands anywhere near their neck. It boils down to this deep fear of being restricted, controlled, or even poisoned by the world around them.
Section 3. Body. Left-sided physicals.
So, how does all this intense, highly pressurized psychology map onto the physical body? Well, if you take away just one physical keynote today, let it be this. Lachesis is famous for left-sided symptoms. Whether it's a sore throat, a headache, an ear infection, or an ovarian cyst, the symptom almost always starts on the left side and then migrates or switches over to the right. It is literally the exact opposite directionality of another major remedy called lycopodium, which moves from right to left. So anytime you see a symptom migrating left to right, Lachesis should immediately jump to the top of your mind. Section 4, Throat, Circulation, and Sleep. So the crucial point here is that for Lachesis, the throat is absolutely the most vulnerable part of the body. Think about it for a second. If you need to catch a venomous snake, how do you do it? You pin it by the neck. If it's caught by the neck, it's totally powerless. Well, Lachesis patients totally mirror this vulnerability. They suffer from sensations of lumps in the throat, trouble swallowing, a tendency to gag, and severe constriction. In fact, if a patient complains of asthma, but points to their throat and says the restriction is up there, rather than in their chest, you are very likely looking at a Lachesis case. But this is where the throat symptoms get truly bizarre, in what we call the swallowing paradox.
Their sore throat actually feels worse from an empty swallow and worse from swallowing liquids. But weirdly enough, it feels much better when they swallow solid foods. On top of that, a warm drink aggravates the pain, but a cold drink relieves it. It's a very peculiar, highly specific set of contradictions, but honestly, it is an absolute goldmine for identifying the Lachesis profile. Beyond the throat, Lachesis has a massive affinity for the circulatory system. We're talking about a strong tendency to bleed easily, often with dark purplish blood. And it produces this incredibly fascinating phenomenon called vicarious epistaxis. This happens when a normal menstrual flow is artificially interrupted, maybe by suppressive drugs or some sort of emotional trauma. It stops, but it vicariously continues as a nosebleed from another part of the body. Just wild. In general, whether it's heavy menses, easy bruising, intense hot flashes, or hypertension, their cardiovascular system just runs extremely hot and highly pressurized. Now, what's really interesting here is how Lachesis relates to biorhythms and sleep. These folks are classic night owls. They come alive at night, their minds switch on, they get industrious, and they get very talkative. But this throws their biorhythm entirely out of whack. If they have to live a normal schedule, it manifests as severe insomnia where they literally can't sleep until 2, 3, or even 4 in the morning. And more importantly, sleep itself acts as an aggravator. They wake up feeling worse, they get headaches upon waking, and they are highly prone to sleep apnea, specifically waking up feeling like their throat is constricting. For Lachesis, that loss of control during sleep is a tremendous vulnerability.
Section 5. Modalities and Summary.
The modalities, or environmental triggers, really hammer home the underlying theme of dysremedy. Because their internal system is so highly pressurized, they are deeply aggravated by hot, humid weather, and they strongly crave starchy foods and alcohol. But the absolute most important concept here is this idea of discharge. Any suppression, whether that's suppressing a physical discharge, like a period, or suppressing a strong emotion, makes them feel terrible. Conversely, any free discharge, like finally bleeding or finally letting out that pent-up anger, brings them immense relief. And just like their throat prefers solid food over empty swallowing, their skin is aggravated by a light, teasing touch, but paradoxically relieved by firm, hard pressure.
Let's move to and see how this all builds into our final, rapid recap. Number 1, we have a quick, highly talkative mind that masks deep mistrust, jealousy, and a sarcastic, venomous bite. Number 2, we are looking for symptoms that strictly begin on the left side of the body and migrate over to the right. Number 3, there is an extreme physical vulnerability in the throat, coupled with highly pressurized, easily bleeding circulation. And finally, number 4, all of these symptoms are universally aggravated by hot weather and by waking up from sleep. The Lachesis profile provides us with an incredible map of how a biological substance can perfectly mirror human psychology and physical pathology. But it also forces us to ask a really profound question about ourselves. How might your own unexpressed emotions, that grief or anger you keep heavily constrained, be quietly manifesting in your physical health? It's a powerful reminder that the mind and body are never truly separate. Thank you so much